So welcome to your pre-scene analysis for the management case study exam. So the management case study exam, like we spoke about in our introduction as well, is the exam which puts you in the role of a finance manager. So in this pre-scene analysis, we're going to try to make study for you as easy, as illustrative, and as colorful as possible. That's our whole agenda behind uh, providing lessons. It's all about making it easy for the student and providing them flexibility. So let's look at our pre-scene analysis. It is the part one for our February 2020 exam. The company that have been given is Trevel Records. So throughout this pre-scene, we'll be going through everything word by word for about 2.5 hours or so. And so the whole pre-scene analysis is about 2.5 hours, where we go through everything in detail, every word in detail, and try to figure out what we can use when we write an actual answer. Now, the whole reason of us doing this pre-scene analysis is to help students write good material when they're actually writing an answer and when they're practicing their questions with us, when they're practicing mock questions with us, because that's how your integration, that's how your business skills come into play. So that is why we made stuff in such a way and in such sentences so that you can directly use them when you want to write an answer. So Travel Records is a quoted company. It's listed on the stock exchange, which means you need to know the advantages and the disadvantages. The advantages of quoting or being quoted on a stock exchange are that you have easy capital access, there is enhanced visibility, people are more open, more trusting towards that organization, liquidity, and transparent and efficiency. Whereas the disadvantages are, if you are going for a new listing, which is not the case for our company, it can be expensive. There is an increased liability, increased governance, increased government scrutiny. There can be enhanced reporting requirements. So yes, Trevel will go through all of this because it's a quoted company. It creates and sells music to a global market. So if it's a global market, which means it's trading all around in different parts of the world. So we see that we are a global company. Hence, your translation risk needs to be considered, and eventually currency or foreign exchange risk management, which is in your F2 syllabus, becomes important. So foreign exchange becomes important. We are a quoted company. Out of the first page, we learn two things: listed on the stock exchange and global. So foreign exchange risk is important. Next, it tells me that the Trevel is based in the capital city of Fortuna. Now, obviously, this is a hypothetical country and a hypothetical city, but they've just created it to give you some background on the country. They tell us that Fortuna is a developed country. From this, we learn that Fortuna, being a highly developed country, will have a developed economy, which means that people have the interest and the money to spend on entertainment such as music records. Now, obviously, if it's a not very well-to-do country, if it's a country that's still developing, it's a country that's still, let's say, in its early development stages, people will not have that amount of disposable income to spend on something such as a music record. But you are in a good position because you are already in a highly developed economy. And this further tells us that the demand conditions, when you look at the Porter's diamond, are strong. The diamond is part of your P2 and your E2 syllabus as well. So this tells us the demand conditions are strong. Fortuna has a high standard of living. Most of its citizens have sufficient disposable income, which means they have money to spend to afford regular spending on entertainment, whether it be music, books, cinema, or theater. So what they're saying is, again, when you write an answer, what do we do with this material, or how is this important? You can straight away start your answer by saying, or you can end your answer by saying maybe any question. you can just put in a small mention that us being in a developed country such as Fortuna gives us the further advantage of demand conditions, which puts our organization in a better competitive position than the others. Just putting in some information which is relevant about your company, your industry, your environment tells the examiner that okay, you have studied the pre-scene, understood the pre-scene, and that will also increase the integration in your answers. So just make sure that the whole reason of why we do the pre-scene analysis is so that you understand the company, and second, when you write your answers, you will be having good material to include in them. So Fortuna's currency is the F dollar. Companies are required to prepare their financial statements in accordance with the IFRS. Again, your F2 syllabus. And for that, we'll be giving you our notes to make life easy. All you have to do, study from those notes. Fortuna is one of the top 6 countries globally for music sales. Again, telling you that you are in a good place to trade in music. Collectively, these 6 countries account for more than 70% of the revenues from the sale of recorded music. From this, we learn that we are already in a country where music records are given importance, and that's growing. This is to your advantage. This is good for your company. But it also tells us that 6 countries account for 70% of the revenue, which means competition. Yes, there will be some competition which needs to be dealt with. We'll talk about that further as well. English language recorded music sells well in all of those countries, despite English not being their first language. You are a financial manager at Trevel's head office. Financial manager, so your roles will include medium-term focus, let's say between a year to 2.5, 3 years. So you're looking into the future as well. Risk management, long-term financing, financial reporting, F2, long-term financing, also F2, risk management, P2, advising top management, and considering all the stakeholders when you make your important decisions. Now, your primary responsibilities are associated with management accounting, your P2 syllabus again, and your report to you report directly to your senior financial manager. The music industry is wide ranging and diverse. They're already telling you that it's diverse, it's wide ranging, there are a lot many opportunities, it's an open market, and there are a lot many new methods that are coming up. So in short, we can say that it's growing. Trevel is a recording company. It's also called a record label. Trevel generates revenues from recording music for sale, either on physical media, such as compact discs, or through various digital distribution channels. Very important point to note. If you're doing a market analysis, you can figure out that there will be high levels of uncertainty because of the nature of the music industry, which is changing trends, changing culture, changing talent, new competition. So what we are learning is, though the market has new opportunities, is still growing, it's high levels of uncertainty. Important point that we just spoke about. Next, we come to the music industry. Now, the music industry is made up of a broad collection of individuals and companies who create and earn revenue directly from music. Here, we would need to look at the buildup of the music industry, which points us in the direction of E2, where the concept of business environments and business ecosystems in your 2019 syllabus has been introduced. So you just want to look at what the business environment is, what the general business companies in the music industry are doing. So understanding of your business environment becomes easy. And if you want to link it back to a textbook topic, to a technical skill, you can go to E2 under business ecosystems. Composers and songwriters. Now that, like we mentioned, there are many individuals or many different kinds of companies in the music industry. The first one that we are dealing with is composers and songwriters. The music is generally written by an individual who retains ownership of the copyright to that composition. I make the song, it's my song. Others who wish to perform that music publicly, either live or through a recording, will usually have to pay a royalty. Composers sometimes create music in return for a fixed fee. So, for example, I will pay you, you make the song for me. In which case, the copyright is sold to the entity that is commissioned, which means now it's my song. I paid you that money, it's my song now. For example, a composer might be paid to write a music to serve as a soundtrack for a film or a television program. Over here, what we again find out is when there is transfer of ownership, when there is these situations where I pay you and you give me your song and then I own the copyright, a strong negotiation team and a strong legal team would be essential for this kind of business because of the technicalities, the small errors or the small rules, laws, regulations, or the small contract terms which can affect us. So, strong negotiation, strong legal teams are very important in the music industry. Going further on, we'll again realize why negotiation and legal teams are needed. Second, we talk about producers and promoters of live performances. So, this is the second type of individuals in the industry. So, live performances can range from an individual vocalist or an instrumentalist playing on a stage. Live performances may take the form of concerts as well, which people are required to purchase tickets for. Now, theme parks and cruise ships often offer live. So, theme parks and cruise ships often offer live music performances as part of their entertainment packages. People like this. This is a growing market. Live performances create revenue generating opportunities for the agencies who sell the tickets. What you're learning out of here is this is a growing market because of the availability of technology. New geographical markets have started to open up because of the culture and availability barriers being reduced all around the world. Let's take the example of India itself. Now, I don't think 10 years ago there were so many music artists or music concerts happening in India. But now, because of so much technology and so much social media that we are exposed to, everybody is influenced. So my favorite music industrial artist can definitely come here today and he'll have a huge audience because of the changing culture, the changing barriers. So you can say that because of this, the market is growing. Fans are willing to pay higher prices to see their favorite artists play in their city. Also, in the first couple pages that we read, it told us that Trevel only creates and distributes music. They haven't told us anything that we produce, promote, live performance. So maybe we can have a business hand that does this job for us. Maybe we can look at it as a diversification strategy. So yes, there are a couple options that you can explore over here. Just a suggestion for you to think on. Third is sound technicians and recording engineers. These are also part of the industry. Live performances can be captured as either audio or video recordings. The recordings can either be live or they can be studio based. But obviously, when you're doing it live, the atmosphere, the euphoria of the crowd adds to the performance. Studio recordings are carefully engineered and they make sure that you are not impaired by the external sounds, by the echoes, or whatever. They're more clean. Recordings are usually created for commercial purposes. They can be sold to listeners on physical media such as CDs, DVDs, vinyl records, or as digital downloads. One important area to look at in this industry is studio time. It is likely to be one of the costliest factors or one of the biggest cost factors in the process. And as a big company, we could look to purchase our own studio. A simple CBA in this area, a cost benefit analysis, can help us make a decision. Further on, we'll see what having a stage studio does not having a studio means. Music companies can also generate revenues from licensing their recordings for broadcast, which means if you want your music to play on the radio or whatever, licenses are required. I cannot just play it. The equipment required to create reasonably good quality recordings is not expensive in today's time. So the cost of entry into the market has been greatly reduced. Even if I want to make music today, I can do it on my own laptop. I can do it on my own computer, on my phone as well. I don't need anything. So yes, the barriers have greatly reduced, and hence the competition in the industry is always going to grow. Some musicians use websites and social medias to offer free downloads. Now, this is where new talent is being found from in today's world. An extensive research team. This needs to be an important point to look at because there are so many music labels in the real world. What they do is they'll always have a research team who are on the lookout for new artists who are just singing locally or singing wherever at a small club, bar, or pub. And then if they're good, they'll give them a chance. And then if they succeed, the studio makes huge money. An extensive research team focusing on acquiring the best possible musicians and reaching them first could be seen as a competitive advantage in this market. So, do we have a team like that? Or you can include this as a suggestion that we should have a team like this. Some musicians are website and social media based. The music industry also encompasses a number of that generate revenue from the sale of music. Next, we are learning about agents and agencies. So many musicians are represented by agents. Big musicians or big artists will always have an agent who will talk for them, who promote their acts and negotiate with record companies. The agents usually receive a percentage of the fees and royalties. Agent company relationship will be extremely important to maintain, and hence topics such as conflict management, resolution, negotiation, stakeholder management from our E2 syllabus become important. You need to look at those topics because if you don't have a good relationship with the agent, obviously it's not going to be a good relationship with the artist. Then there are lawyers. Now, like we spoke about, there being the introduction of copyrights, royalties, then there also will be a presence of people who know the law. So lawyers are very important in this industry, and there are some lawyers who specialize in the music industry itself. Contracts can be complicated, and so both musicians and record companies are forced to pay a significant fee to lawyers. There are also complicated areas such as copyright that lead to your complex disputes. Now, something that has been included in your uh, 2019 syllabus is just a change, the IAS 38, which is IAS on intangible assets. From your F1 syllabus, it's come into F2 syllabus, and it's very relevant for this case study as well. So your IAS 38 on intangibles is a good area that you're supposed to focus on because it deals with all the intangibles such as royalties, such as copyrights, patents, trademarks, stuff like that. So just a basic knowledge of what the IAS is will definitely help. And for a company like Trevel, you can see that a lot of their resources are going to be intangible. So yes, importance of IAS 38. Recording companies are arguably the most visible part of the music industry. Apart from recording and distributing music, recording companies must find and promote new acts, like we spoke about over here. So to find and promote new acts, we can have a team that specifically is meant for research, finding the best musicians in local areas, making them popular. The process of searching new talent and promoting the resulting acts is often associated with heavy expenditure on advertising and publicity. So that's going to be a major cost. That's going to be a major cost element. We'll talk about the costs, we'll talk about the financials, we'll talk about the numbers and the ratios, which we will make for you in the later stages of the pre-scene. All you have to do is then use those numbers. We'll make them for you. We'll tell them how to use them. We'll explain them to you, and then it's only and only your job to use it in the answer. Then there are recording companies or record labels business model. So we are looking at the business model of a normal record label. So recording companies enter into agreements with artists and composers to acquire the rights to record and distribute their music. Strong agreements and protection of artists' works are very important, and again point to the importance of a strong legal team. So a strong legal team is going to be your competitive advantage or your differentiation in this competitive industry. Because if you don't have a tight agreement, the song that you have, which is made exclusively for you, can be played in 10 different places. So how do you earn your money? How do you earn the royalties? The resulting recordings are then made available through a number of distribution channels. The first one being physical media. Now, historically, recorded music was sold on vinyl records, audio cassettes, and compact discs. The music industry was keen to encourage and support this development. The purchase of new hardware of playing music was often accompanied by a desire to build a music collection. Now, earlier, people always invested in this stuff because they wanted to have a music collection, or build a collection. For example, CDs were an overnight success because they were easier to carry than a vinyl record. But let's look at some industry terms which we have calculated, industry analysis. This can be seen as a more traditional market. It's very traditional, it's where music actually started. CD sales have been declining drastically, and this could be seen as a market in its mature, late mature stage, or in its decline stage. Vinyl sales grew by just shy of 12%, from 8.6 to 9.7 million. So as you can see, late mature stage, very uh, where if you compare it to the other markets, it's very slow growth. While cassette sales grew by almost 19%. It wasn't quite the 41.8% growth seen in the music streaming industry, but it's still very impressive for two formats that are decades old. So they're still in the mature stage. We can still say that they're in the late mature stage, they're still slightly increasing, but the star of this market is going to be music streaming, which we are going to look at, which has very high growth rates.